Hey, welcome to episode 3, season 2 of the Alec McNorman show. And today I'm very happy to have my good friend and guest. Well, good friend. I'd like to say we're good friends, but whatever.
Yes, we are, of course.
So I've got Bruno Guevremont here, who it's actually funny because I'm asking him to introduce himself, even though he's got a much larger following than I do. And it's like I've been following Bruno now for a couple of years and love his messaging, love what he's got to say. So Bruno, over to you, please.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. And, really looking forward to this episode and what we're going to talk about. It's going to be very interesting. But a little bit about my background. I'm originally from Quebec, Gatineau, Quebec. And then I've been in the forces. I was in the forces for 15 years, joined in 99, did 15 years there, served both in the Army and the Navy. Lucky me, 2 tours in Afghanistan, and went through, the medical release for post-traumatic stress disorder, broken back, shoulders, neck, the whole thing. It comes with your kit issue, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after that, I owned a gym for about 5 years, a CrossFit gym, because that was my way to recovery when I was medically released. And I was the team captain for Canada in 2016 for the Invictus Games in Orlando. And I was an ambassador for the Invictus Games in 2017, Toronto and Sydney. And from there, I started being a really big advocate for the recovery of veterans and a big advocate for mental health. 5 years, I was a Bell Let's Talk ambassador, going around the country and talk about mental health. And that was the whole time I was doing that was during the time that I was suffering. Basically, I was just, doing what soldiers do, like, suck it up and keep on going and help others, right? Because it's not about you. And, a lot of realizations. And lately, what I do is I'm an executive coach. And I'm also a consultant for organizations that do help or seek veterans for helping them or their well-being. And I coach executives, and so
Nice.
it's pretty good go. I'm very happy, and I'm excited about what we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. So it's funny because like you talked about being in the Army and then in the Navy, you're one of those weird people that had a really good job in the Army as you were weapon or not tech,
yeah.
right? Weapons tech.
Okay. Weapons tech, yeah, with 3 RCR. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's where we met. It was at 3 RCR back in the day, and then you went to Navy, ship's diver, right, or clearance diver?
So after my first tour, right? So we went to Roto Zero in Kabul. And when I came back, there was a lot of downtime. And I had seen the episode of Forbidden Places on clearance divers. There's only 120 clearance divers across the country. It's a very small trade. Not a lot of people know about it. And of course, we didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky because a friend of mine who was a vehicle tech had been in the Navy and was a ship's team diver and told me all about what clearance divers do. And I decided to put in my remuster. And of course, you couldn't go to be a clearance diver straight out. You can now, I believe. They've changed it. They made it kind of selection similar to the Hill.
Okay.
So it's any trade can apply, and you can go in, and then you do the new selection and everything. But before, you needed to be either a combat diver from the combat engineers or a ship's team diver from the Navy.
Oh, okay.
And so I transferred over to the Navy to become a bosun. So once again, bosun being the guy who takes care of the boats, small arms on the ships, demolitions, all these stuff. So it was a good 2 years on the ships. And then after that, I did selection. I became a ship's team diver, did the course, and then I did selection to become a clearance diver.
Nice. And I remember, being a medic, I've had some friends that did the diving. Myself, I hate the water. Like, fuck that. No way was I ever going to do, because I did do some time at 2CER and the opportunity came up for the dive. I was like, no fucking way. I will not dive. My thing is like, I'll be doing a dive somewhere and some prehistoric fish or something is just going to come and eat me. So that's a no. But but from what I've heard, what everybody's saying is like, that's a tough course too. It's almost like buds, the Navy SEAL kind of thing, or.
Yeah, it is one of the toughest course out there. The thing is that a lot of people, even myself, believe that you do the 2-week selections, it's 10 day, right? And then you do that 2-week selection. We started about 40 on it, and we finished 8. Wow. That was 5 NCM and 3 officers. And we you think that after the selection, it's all easy going. And actually the course is 1 full year of the same tempo as the selection.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. And when you're done, you're happy about being it done. But yeah, no, it's a tough course. And then the men and women that do join are switched on. And it's, you know what, I'm going to tell you something. It's one of the best units I've worked at because it's a good mix of the structure, professionalism, and dedicated purpose soldiers of the Army with the, I'm going to say this, with the first name basis,
Yeah.
chill, open door policy, camaraderie, and kind of a little bit more of a on your own kind of a deal from the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good mix of the two. And I really enjoyed my time at the fleet diving unit. It was good.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Okay. And then, so from there, because I believe your second tour that you went as a clearance diver, but you were actually doing the mine clearing, right?
I was doing counter IED.
Yeah, counter ID.
Yeah. I was doing counter IED. We were a small team. It was myself and a combat engineer. We were the operators. And then we had a communication guy and a driver, and then a tech was a tactical exploitation team guy. And it was a small team of 5, and it was quite the exciting tour. We were really busy.
Yeah, and again, another thing that I would never do either was engineer anything with the Navy, and like you've done everything that I would say no thank you, I'll pass. So good for you on a wonderful career. Yeah. Unfortunately, you got some injuries from it, but it's actually again, it's one of those things where I'm actually inspired by like how a lot of people that I know, yourself included, Jody Middick being another guy, you know, Toby Miller, a bunch of other guys that, you know, that have had some pretty harrowing experiences, but we're able to take that and move forward with it and make such a positive change or difference across Canada. It's awesome. It's inspiring to me. And this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, is so I can, you know, to the 3 people that may be listening, you know, get them to talk about it to other people. And then, you know, we can, like I said, I love your messaging. I love how positive you are and everything. But it wasn't always that easy for you, you know, like I remember watching you on CTV and stuff like that, and all of the interviews and stuff that you did. And I was like, man, he's knocking it out of the park, like articulate, smart, you know, but fucking tough as nails too. So very, very happy to know you, my friend.
Thank you.
So
thank you. And you know what, you brought up a good point, if I can just jump in there, is that
sure.
Like I was saying when I was doing my introduction, is that it seems like, you know, I had my stuff together, right? I had my shit together and everything was going on. And it was like, basically, I was soldiering on is what I was doing. Try to work. There was some really dark days and then even during COVID, there was some dark days, and that kind of pushes you to kind of seek even more healing and more ways of different modalities of healing and everything to find out what really works for you. And I can't stress this enough in our conversation today. I'll say is that you must be in charge of your own healing, because the thing is that that's what's going to set you free. Nobody can heal you for you. And you could try different types of things. And until you're ready to make the decision to heal and what that's going to look like for you, that's going to be the most important part of the message today. I think so. Yeah, no,
that's great. And it's funny because I was the same way as like, you know, when I was sitting in JPSU, I could have easily just sat for another 3 years in JPSU. They totally forgot about me. I was making my master officer pay with spec pay. I could have just sat there and did nothing, but I was very active, like proactive of getting in there, getting the help I needed and stuff like that. And it actually, like I ended up leaving after 32 years, but I could have stayed for the full 35, but I was like, no, I want the help. I need the help. And so it was good because I was proactive, but it also led me to down the road to get my degree. And then that re-sparked my interest in knowledge that I totally forgot about, like when I was a kid and stuff. So Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but it's just like it's very important for sure to like you have to be much like they all say you need to be your own career manager, you need to be your own health advocate for sure. I agree with that 100%.
Because we all have a different answer sheet, right? What works for you doesn't work for me, doesn't work for the other guy, might work for this. And the systems that are out there to help you out are a blanket coverage.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, this is what we're going to offer because the majority of people have, right? And then, but still, you know, there was a really good thing. I was invited to go on an American course over in Virginia, and it was really, really good. And one of the things that stuck with me is the psychologist at the front, she was saying, when you see one veteran, you know how the saying would be, you've seen one veteran, you've seen them all. But she said, when you've seen one veteran, you've seen one veteran.
Yeah.
Is what you have. Because everybody has different needs, different wants, different ways, different filters. This is why, like you, I love that you said I went and got my degree and everything, because that's also what happens a lot when I meet the vets out there and we're talking, is that if you think about when you were really progressing and happy in life, you were doing growth and contribution. Basically, you were always learning and you were giving it away. Okay. Those are like the needs of the spirits. And I found that, you know, through all our, we went to school, we were learning, we're having fun. Then after that, we went and joined the military. And in the military, it's always about learning and growing, get faster, get better, you know, get to the next rank. Good. So there was always something to go at. But when we get out, a lot of people, and just not us, the civilians as well, they get about 40, they got the family, the house, they got the whole thing, they got this, and then they go, why am I depressed?
Yeah.
Why am I depressed? Why am I struggling? Because on paper, it looks like I'm great, but I'm still depressed. And then I go, well, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you learning right now? And they go, learning. I've done all my learning. I got my degree. I've got it. Oh, so you've stopped learning because you got another 60 years to go. What are you going to do? And that's how I see them get motivated again by, I said, now you get to choose what you want to learn. You don't need to learn everything. That's why I went down psychology and neuro-linguistic programming and all this stuff to understand how my brain works.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, like the stuff that I'm learning, I said, you know, I was the same way. I was like, man, why did I stop learning? Like, you know, and like, you know, I remember because I did my final, you know, 6B course was 2007, I think. And then not too long after that was my ALQ or ILQ and then ALQ. But then after that, that was my formal learning. And like I did have to continue like some sort of learning in my job because I was like you working on policy and stuff. So you always have to look at, you know, threshold limit values and all this other stuff. But anyway, but it's just like, but that's all I was, is I wasn't really learning. I was just like doing my job and that was it. And I had zero other cognitive you know, outlets outside of work. And so yeah, it was really bad. Did a lot of drinking, a lot of stupid drinking, but that was also part of the other stuff. But the other thing too, so getting back to you know, your slow transition out of the military into like the public view and stuff. One of the things I found interesting, because I always sit there and watch these things and like, oh man, it must be nice to go and do all these traveling and stuff like that. But you said a lot of the stuff that you did in the beginning, like the Bell, maybe not the Bell, but some of the other things that you're going to be the ambassador for, that was out of your own pocket.
Yeah, so it was at the beginning for like my speaking, for my stuff, and I try to remind the people. It's funny because another veteran today asked me to be on a call because he wants to ask me questions about speaking. And when you're a guest speaker or an event speaker, or you want to be out there and you're asked to be and told your story, there's two things you need to remember. Is that at the beginning, you need to work on your craft, right? How to build your story, how to engage the audience, how to do these things. And I was kind of thrust into it after I went on to the expedition to the North Pole with TPL. They did a documentary about that, and then it kind of propelled me forward. And at the beginning, I was doing a lot of guest speaking for TPL, for True Patriot Love, or for Soldier On, or whichever, you know, they needed for it. And then after that, as I got better, other organizations like companies and everything was asking me, how much do you charge? And I didn't know. So I was like, you know, $500, $1,000, or whatever that is. And you work for your craft. And that was at the beginning of everything. And then when I did the Invictus Games, obviously when I was team captain, everything was covered. When I did the Toronto one, because it was in Canada, everything was covered. But when it was for Australia, Australia said, you know, we're going to take care of you when you get here, but you need to get here, and then your transport and all this stuff, you need to take care of that and all these things. And I did it, obviously, because the rewards you get from the experience and who you get to mix and getting out of your comfort zone is about 1,000-fold. And I'm going to take that as well to bring it back to healing. A lot of people are asking, like right now, I know that we're going to talk about psychedelics assisted psychotherapy. And I'm going to tell you that right now, VAC doesn't cover that, right? They do cover the psychotherapy. They cover some parts of it, but they don't. I'm going to tell you, it's highly beneficial to yourself to start dishing out of your own pocket, because one, it re-empowers you, gets you to be in control. And then you're once again, you made the decision to heal. You're not going to wait, right? All my coursing that I wanted to do, a lot of it wasn't covered by the Voc Rehab of Veterans Affairs. Like all my work with Tony Robbins and going around the world and working for him and doing all this stuff, that I had to pay out of my pocket. And good for me, I had a claim that just came in, because I can tell you that in my own education, I'm about $250,000, if not $300,000 of my own pocket.
Yeah. But, and like you said, you know, and it's kind of funny because it's, you know, I don't want to, again, paint all veterans with a certain brush, but there are a lot of people out there, too many for my liking, that are putting in claims and shit, you know, whether they need it or not, just to get the money. So, and that's what I like about you, is like you spent 300,000 and 250 to 300,000 out of your own pocket to help you heal and actually help others heal with like getting your message out there and stuff, where other people are more than happy just to sit back and take the fucking money from back and not do anything. I get a little bit upset with that, but you know, I don't want to say that everybody does it, but I do know that there are some people out there that do it, and so that's why I like that. And the other thing too is like, so that like I know that was a great segue with, because I wanted to get into the Tony Robbins thing. So how did that all happen? Because like he's like, that would be one guy that I'd like to hang out. Is he really as tall as? First of all, is he really as tall as he is?
Yeah, he's a giant. He's a giant. He's awesome to watch. So as everybody knows, it's you know, you grew up in the 80s, 90s, watching him at 1 o'clock in the morning, selling his tapes and all this stuff. And I grew up with him. But one of the things that I really had that I liked about him was his ability to help people right there on the spots about deep issues. He actually, a lot of people don't know this, but he started in Vancouver.
Oh, really?
He started his early career in Vancouver and all that, doing shows here. And then he was challenging psychiatrists and psychologists. At first, he started with with cessation of smoking. He would get people to quit smoking, because Tony is a neurolinguistic practitioner, right? Neurolinguistic programming practitioner under Richard Bandler and all that. And he had started with the stop people from smoking or fears of whatever. And he was on radio shows, and psychiatrists and psychologists were calling in, and they were saying, "Hey, you're a quack, you're a fraudster, you're this." And he says, "Bring me your toughest client."
Yeah.
And he would kind of fix them right there, which I don't like that word, but he would help them right there. And then he got into this thing, and then he turned into the Wonder Boy, and then he crashed, and then he got a whole bunch of stuff. And so the story there was really good. And for me was, once again, taking my own healing. I wanted to learn what he was doing. So I decided to go and do all of his seminars and do all of his coursing and do some of this. I heard his type of coaching and all of that. And then at one point there was when I went to Fiji, they asked me to be videotaping and vlogging my personal journey through the health and wealth over there. And that was really cool. And then from there, I was offered to go on another course they call the Academy, I think it is, the Leadership Academy. And it's how to become a kind of like a coach for Tony. And I kind of took it. I saw some things I wasn't happy about and all these things, but the thing is that it got me the opportunity to coach right there on the spot while the seminars were going.
Mhm.
So, which I was already doing. I just wanted to, get some more tools under my belt. And then from there, I learned that, I wanted to go and get my NLP master practitioner. So I'm fully licensed in that because I wanted to do that type of work, which I was already doing when I was in fitness and doing these things. There's a lot of things we do, but I wanted to get that certification. That was important for me because it's the way that I work, and it's really efficient at helping people right there on the spot. I really
Yeah, it's amazing. Like you got a really good story to tell, man, like the experience and stuff. But again, it was again to the quest for knowledge, the quest to be
to be
better
a
at
better
your
version of
craft.
yourself and
Yeah.
of healing and everything. I got to walk on fire with them. I got to jump from heights. I got to do a whole bunch of stuff. And what was most valuable was the type of people that you meet over there.
Hmm.
At all these seminars, these training camps, the people that you meet are all people working on themselves from all walks of life. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and let's be honest here. There are a lot of people. Almost everybody that I know needs to work on something of themselves. So that's and that's the one thing that I like to tell people is like, like I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson. I like his work. A lot of people don't like him, but that's fine. I find reading his stuff very, very helpful because it's like, although people think he's like a right-wing lunatic, he's not. He's like, everything's down the center for him. He's like, too much this way is bad, too much of that way is bad. Just be a good person, be the best that you can at everything, and everything will be fine. Be nice to people, blah blah blah. But shit, where was I going with this?
I'll add on to this is that
Yeah.
It was good for me as a veteran that was struggling to actually get out of the veteran world
Mhm.
and go into the world of high performance or kind of pushing out and civilians and all these things. And funny enough is when I did get to Tony, I got to meet a whole bunch of veterans from around the world that were doing the same thing that I was doing. So it created that little community. And it's not just Tony. Like there's other people, like you say, you like Jordan Peterson. There's the Joe Dispenzas out there. There's the Brandon Butcher. There's the all of these people that if it rings with you, I will highly recommend that you fully immerse yourself. Like, reading the books is good. Listening to the tapes is good. Watching the videos is good, but actually fully immersing yourself for like Date with Destiny is like 7 days. When you go to Fiji, like you go to Fiji, right? If you want to go over there and then you do the health part, which is a big fast and some cleansing and everything. And then you do your wealth part to understand, where your money's going, all this stuff. And so you understand and you're working on other things, and that's getting you out of your environment, right? If you go and work with Joe Dispenza, you'll work about, your pineal gland and generating your energy and finding all these things. If you go, follow Sadhguru, you're going to find out about philosophy and yoga and meditation and all this, which I follow all these guys, right? To get a little bit, everybody's got a piece of the puzzle to be able to figure out what your needs are and to be able to, kind of heal from what is available out there for you. Because once again, we have a different answer sheet.
Yeah. And yeah, that's perfect. And thanks for saving me there because I was totally lost. But yeah, and like you said, just one more thing on that topic and then we'll move on. But like I did a little bit of stuff like, like CrossFit, like you were talking about there. So, I was into isogenics for a little bit and all this stuff. And so you get these other people that, it's kind of like a, multi-level marketing type thing. So, we had the people, so like they basically have the same kind of thing as what you're talking about is like, it's no longer good just to work on a healthy body, like eating right and exercising stuff. Like even in isogenics and CrossFit and all these places, it's all about the mental part now as well. And that's so important that I really want to get out there. So what they do is they have like a bunch of different, like you threw out a couple of names there. And that's the one thing that I really like to tell people is like, there's, like there was this guy, Simon Sinek, that my friend Christina Connolly put me on to. His stuff didn't really resonate with me, but then, but there was other stuff, but,
Simon Sinek I like how he speaks. I
Yeah.
like what he's bringing up. Leaders eat last. Find your why. When you read the book, all of that, it's good. What he's bringing up is good. For me, I think maybe that's the same for you. The delivery, when you listen to him, is not on par with my energy of what's listening, right? It's
Yeah.
more about that. That's what I think it's saying out there, is that sometimes the message is like, when I moved away from the gym and I started going into a high performance for business, I was into the Gary Vaynerchuk and the Grant Cardones and all these things. And after a while, I was like, ugh, this just feels like constantly about, you got to go out there and crush it and
Yeah.
7 days, 24, in 24/7, 365. And I was like, my God, that's not sustainable. Nobody can do that.
Mhm.
But I'm not saying nobody, because obviously they got a team and they're doing their thing. But the thing is that out there is someone, and we're throwing out some big names to kind of get people lined up, if they're listening, to say, okay, I'm going to look at Tony, Jordan Peterson, all these guys,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. But there's a lot of smaller people dropping some really good nuggets out there, right?
Mhm.
From everywhere. I highly recommend, finding your person that, is speaking your message right now that you need to hear.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Okay. So like it's no secret to everybody that, through one part of my recovery, through back is the medicinal marijuana stuff, which I finally found my niche of enough CBD throughout the day to handle the pain, and then enough THC at night to not only put me to sleep, but help me to sleep. And it's kind of funny because, well, not really funny, but I feel bad because Linda is having a hard time sleeping these last couple of months, premenopausal and stuff. And I'm just like, "Ah." So, it's too bad that way. But then I started seeing your stuff with the other stuff. So, and that's what I really wanted to talk to you about, because you really helped me become knowledgeable on the psychedelics and all these other different modalities that are coming in that VAC doesn't really cover yet, but the evidence is out there. So can you start off by, most people know about their dosing for the medical marijuana stuff, but now you've taken a little bit further into these other things. So can you talk about that for a bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. So first of all, let's start with the medicinal marijuana. So that everybody understands the context of where I'm from. So if you're listening to this and you're like a straight arrow kind of guy that never did drugs and all these things, and I understand you, and I was exactly like you. I had before I joined the military, I tried maybe 5 times to smoke and to do mushrooms or whatever that is, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And then I went into the military, and being at 3RCR, I remember the RSM when they came out with the new law that it was no longer criminal to get caught with 30 grams and under, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the RSM came in from the whole battalion and said, I don't care about this long-haired, dope-smoking friends of Jesus out there that aren't going to jail, but nobody here is going to do some marijuana, right?
Yeah.
And then me coming from, that was just before I came over to BC, where in BC, everybody was already sparking up. The cops were like talking to people smoking a joint outside on the street, and I was mind blown.
Yeah.
And then the people on the base were laughing at me, and they said, "This is BC, man. Everybody's been sparking up for decades." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So that's how much removed we are from what's going on. But I was still, throughout my career and everything, even after my release, a lot of vet friends of mine were coming up and saying, "Hey, Bruno, you should try medicinal marijuana." I was like, "Dude, man, that's not for me. I'm good to go. I got all my medication, right? The conditioning that we get. I got, my 15 pills I'm taking in 24 hours. I got this stuff." And in 2018, I went to a walk-in clinic, and we did some tests and everything. And they found out that my organs were shutting down, my stomach was being done, all of the side effects of long-term use of medication was affecting me, and I needed to come off of everything.
Yeah.
So, I had chronic pain since 2010. I injured my back as a paratrooper in 2001, and we sucked it up until 2010 until it became chronic. And in 2018, I because I was in so much pain, I started looking and doing the research of medicinal marijuana, and I found about CBD and all these things. And my biggest fear was, I'm running businesses. I got a son. You know, I got things to do. I'm a speaker. I'm like, you know, the whole stigma and image around it. And I didn't want to be high. I just really didn't want to. But I also had been on Zopiclone for 8 years.
Yeah.
Which gives you dementia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Possibility of dementia. So, you know, a lot of things we didn't know because we didn't read the fine print and how long
Yeah.
can you, and asking the right questions. So, so I kind of made the decision to go on it. Like everything at the beginning, I took a lot of it and it was quite the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I kind of realized that it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much. I'm a 2 gummy kind of guy at night.
Yeah.
And then for sleeping, and that keeps me with the because I do the 1-in-1, the CBD and things, so that keeps the inflammation down, keeps me sleeping as well.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's what it is, which led me to once again to seek more information about plant health and, you know, and natural ways to healing. And you know, I went to you know, changing the deodorant that you're using, thanks to my wife, and then changing other things that we're using, and then finding that the quality of life was getting better. And that led me down to finding one of my psychologists at the base mental health was from South America, and he had told me about ayahuasca, and which is, for those of you who don't know, it's Joe Rogan talks about it. There's a whole bunch of people. It's where they talk about DMT. That's where it comes from, and it's a sacred plant down in the Amazon part of the north part of South America, and it's a brew that they make, and then you can go on a spiritual journey and do some healing. And at first, when he told me that, I said, you know, I don't want any of your hippie stuff here, Doc, because I was still in, right? Remember?
Yeah.
And but when I, you know, 2018, 2019 is when I was starting to pay attention, and these things were coming up, and I decided to kind of check it out, and did research on that side as well, and what was the behind it. And actually, there's a lot of science. A quick Google search of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy research, universities, even here in Canada, you'll find tons of research done of what it is scientifically. Just like for the doctors and the practitioners out there, it's a regeneration of neuroplasticity. So basically recreating neural pathways and healing and all these things. On the spiritual side, practitioner side, and the patient side, yourself, is you get to do the work prior, go on your spiritual journey, and then do the integration after. And that's where the magic happens, is that not only is your physiology of your brain changing, you're firing different ways, but now you have a better understanding. And you're like, if you do the ketamine assisted psychotherapy, which is offered to veteran here in Canada, which is the one I started with, is right there, that's a disassociative psychedelic, as in it separates you from your trauma, that you and your therapist on the integration part of it within the next 24 hours after your journey, you can look at it as if you were telling me about your trauma, Norm. So it's very easy. When you're standing outside of it, you can actually look at it and make sense of it and saying, hey man, that doesn't serve me anymore. Or how can I deal with this differently going forward? Mm-hmm. And that's what comes out. And that's why it's so important for the psychotherapy to be involved, because or a shaman or a medicine person who've been doing this for a long time will tell you that. If somebody says, hey, just come into my basement and let's take this stuff, I would highly recommend you don't, okay? Because there is some preparation that needs to be. I call it sacred medicine, all of it. Mm-hmm. And even though that now Health Canada has approved on the special access program, the MDMA, which is ecstasy, and psilocybin, which is magic mushroom, it's gonna be in a clinical setting, and I highly recommend that for everybody, until you become experienced and you know what your abilities are, what dosage you need, and all these things. And then until at a point, because it is still illegal to buy that stuff on the street, right? This is yeah. I'm just gonna put that out there. Yeah. It's still illegal. And also going to the corner and buying it from Spike there, the dealer, you might not get the best quality stuff. So you know, buyers beware. And you need the right set and intention. You need to be able to do some work prior to it to figure out what your questions are going to be, what your intentions for the journey is going to be. And then after that, you need someone to be able to work through the integration and implementation of what you did kind of figure out on your journey.
Okay. And that's, yeah, so that was the one thing that I had written down here. So like where can you find, like, is there like a network or whatever where you can find like where people can do this type of assisted
Psychotherapy?
psychotherapy?
Yeah, absolutely. So across Canada, clinics are opening up like hotcakes here.
Okay.
I deal with, so I'm an ambassador for Vanguard Wellness, which is an organization that got a bunch of veterans together. There's about 6 or 7 ambassador of us from coast to coast
Okay.
that went through the full program of ketamine assisted psychotherapy with the clinic. At first I needed to fly. So that's what I'm telling you guys. Like I needed to fly from Victoria, where I'm at, over to Ontario to get that, because that was the first clinic there. And we went all these, and I like to be the first to go through and to try things and all do these things. And then that's what we had to do. So now there's clinics that in every province. And you just need to do the research and everything. And hopefully you can find a clinic that is connected to Veterans Affairs to get your part of the cost covered. But
Okay.
your transport's not going to be covered. Your hotels aren't going to be covered. But your psychotherapy is going to be covered, and probably the ketamine and all these things, because it doesn't cost anything and all that. So I'm going to tell you that Field Trip in Ontario and Fredericton are set up for that, also as in BC, and the Newly Institute in Alberta and also Fredericton are also set up to help you with that. If you need any link, you can reach out to me at any time, and I can point you in the right direction and connect you with the right people. But you can go to vanguardwellness.ca, and then you'll see me in there, and then ambassadors, and how to go through the program and everything and all that, and or reach out to me at any
Cool.
time.
Awesome. And you said that your experience with it is like it's helped you quite a bit.
Like it's really important as well to, before you go on your journeys,
Yeah.
to have intentions, not expectation. And
Mhm.
so I'm really kind of I kind of hold myself back to say this, but the thing is that I basically healed 40 years of trauma. But you need to do the work. It didn't
Mhm.
come easy. You need to go through the work, and it took me 8 sessions, and really, like, listen, anybody that's listening to this that's a veteran, and you mention one of your friend there that never tells the truth to his psychologist.
Yeah.
So this I know is a thing. It's a thing. All veterans do it. The person on the, it's like you're just going through the motions of I'm going there, or now I'm virtual, and yeah, whatever. And that's why talk therapy didn't work for me, because the person on the other side, not that they didn't care, but they have like 10 patients a day and all these things, right? And then
Yeah.
there's another veteran, and it's the whole thing. And I'm an action kind of guy. Let's do something about it. That's why a psychotherapist is different as well. And I found that for me worked with also the regeneration of neuroplasticity, right? When you go through trauma, your brain creates a new neural pathways to be able to deal with the trauma you saw, right? But
Mhm.
then me, when I heard that, I was like, hey man, I can create new neural pathways, which is finding ways that works for you. So working out's one of them, having good habits, one of them, equestrian therapy is one of them. Going fishing is one of them. Whatever therapy you're doing, music therapy, once again, is, learning a new skill creates new neural pathways associated with good emotion. That's how we operate. And
Mhm.
then what it helps is that the psychedelics will also, on a spiritual side, is that's going to connect you what I call the golden light, right? The sum of all lights, which is God or the source or the universe or whatever you want to call it, your higher self. And you really feel the unconditional love that so much of us, thought when we were broken that was never going to happen. So that was a personal touch that I really love to hear from a lot of people that go through the therapy. But it's quite the experience. I highly recommend for people that do their research, understand, find out. The first question is, do you want to heal? And because one of the things that we see, you and I, is that when we talk to veterans about going forward, a lot of people just want to come over and chit chat and make sure you care or whatever. They're making sure people care. But when you ask them, hey, let's do this, and then you do a plan for them, and they figure out what they want to do and what they need to do, they come back 3 months later and you ask them, have you done the work? And they go, no. And then 3 months after that, have you done the work? And they go, no. And you can see those people kind of showing up, right? They're the guys who hang out with their buddies over at Tim Hortons, and they talk about the government, and they talk about VAC, and then they don't really do anything. And basically that's what it is. It's because they've fully adopted that identity of broken veteran. And somewhere in the subconscious, somewhere in their mind, if they get rid of that, and that's constantly being reinforced by Veterans Affairs, right? They always throw crumbs and feed the bears, right? So they say, well, if I become better, then my mom won't call, my wife won't take care of me, all these things, right? So that's not just veterans, it's also other victims or other injured people. You either choose one or two, right? The victim or the warrior, and you're gonna go out there and you're gonna take care of yourself. And unfortunately, that's why one of my first questions is that, do you want to heal? And if you do, what is that gonna look like? And what are you willing to trade for it? Right? Because you get nothing for nothing. There's always going to be an exchange of energy. Whether it's somebody doing you do something for a friend, and then somehow the karmic wheel spins around and you get a favor done for you down the road or something like that, or it's a money exchange, or it's I need to work out and lift some weights, or I need to spend times and go do couples therapy or whatever. There's an exchange of your time, energy, or blood and sweat that needs to happen for you to get what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that I really like to do with, why we're doing this podcast and stuff is, just the help is out there. Like, there's no reason for anybody, veteran or not, the one thing that I like that we're talking about veterans and veteran issues and stuff like that, but it's for everybody. Like, anybody who's out there listening, who's hurting, or even if you're not really hurting, there's always ways that you can, better yourself. Like you said, staying physically active, or, eating right, or now now that Linda and I are settled and things are, coming into like a normal routine for us, we're heavily discussing volunteering and stuff like that, like looking for places to go and make a positive change in the communities that we're going to be staying at, 6 months at a time. So, and that's the thing is like, I love your messages, like there's always an exchange. So hopefully, like us talking to this, and somebody listens to it, and then they're like, okay, well, talk to their friend about it and say, watch this podcast. Or, I heard Norm and Bruno talking about this thing, and Vanguard, let's check it out, and then talk about it. And then all of a sudden, like we have a whole bunch of people that are on their way to healing, and there's enough miserable pricks in this world. We don't need to make more. We need to make happier people.
Two things I want to pass on, Norm, that you brought up is that you said, there's a lot of organizations out there and everything. I'm going to tell you, there's way more organizations out there looking to help veterans than veterans actually looking for those organizations. Because one of the work that I do is finding veterans for these organizations. They got the funding, they got the money in, they got investors, they got all these things. And then they say, okay, now we need veterans. Where are they hiding? Right? They're at Tim Hortons, they're in their basement, they're struggling somewhere and everything, and they're waiting for somebody to come and get them. And unfortunately, nobody knows where you are, and you need to get out. This is so important, is to make sure that you go out there and you seek what it is that you need. And if you don't know, do like I did, try everything. Because that's another thing, right? The veterans call me and they say, hey man, Bruno, I've tried everything. And I go, oh, you've tried like everything? And they go, yeah. I said, wow, that's awesome. And so I said, have you tried equestrian therapy? No. Have you tried climbing? No. Hiking? No. Have you tried fishing? No. Have you tried Soldier On? No. Have you tried Wounded Warrior with their couples therapy? No. Have you tried TPL? No. So you haven't tried everything. What you tried was, my psychologist and in this group therapy I went to. Or these vets, OSI thing. And then I said, okay, so those are good things that didn't work for you. Because I did the Veterans Transition Network. I went to the first weekend and I found out that group therapy wasn't good for me, because I was walking out of the sessions with more problem than I had when I walked in, because I'm an empath and I'm a guy who cares about others. So I said, group therapy is not good for me. So then I had to find other things. So I went equestrian therapy. I went and did the soldier on. I did the TPL. I did the all the things, right? And once again, it was about me going out there, putting myself out there. Many, many times I wasn't comfortable. Many, many times I didn't want to go, but I did go, and it did make a big difference. And from there, I got into the habit of constantly being uncomfortable when things were important to do, right?
Yeah.
Because so many times we get like, I don't want to today. And there's days where, I'm going to be honest. There's days when I stay in the house and I play video games, man. That's all I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
And still today I do that. Right. So I'm not painting a beautiful picture here. What I'm saying is that at the beginning, out of a week, I would have, 6 days of dark, 1 day of light. And then after that, it became 5 and 2. And now it's good months of light and then a few dark days out there and all these.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that's the thing too, is, I fall victim of that myself by telling everybody like, everything's really good, blah, blah. But yeah, I do have my days where I just stay in bed all day, and you never know when they're coming. And, like we were talking about, the Wednesdays that we go to the range and we do our little shoot there with our 22s. 2 weeks ago, I didn't go. I was like, I'm not, and I ended up staying in bed all day. And it's like one of those things where, I don't try to fill my week with, but Linda and I still do like a Monday to Friday type routine of PT and, trying to do some stuff, learning guitar, reading, all this other stuff. But there are days where, you just wake up and like, nope, today's not the day. And then before, like, I used to get so upset when I had a waste, like I call them wasted days. They're not really wasted days. It's like your body's like, enough is enough, Norm. You need to take a break. But yeah, it's like I'm guilty of telling everybody like, yes, it's awesome and blah blah, and I'm much better than I was, say, 2015, 2016. But that's the one thing, is like all of these things are good, but they're not a 100% solution. Just like a vaccine, it's not going to give you 100% immunity, but it's better than nothing.
Exactly, right. And that's just it. You got to find what works for you and be gentle with yourself. I need to learn to be gentle in myself. Actually, COVID was a blessing in disguise, because before I had all these talks and I was traveling and I was doing this, and then I was helping everybody else deal with their problems, but I wasn't dealing with mine. And when COVID hit, then it all stopped. Everything stopped. No more traveling, no more nothing. This is what's happening. And nobody knew until it adjusted. And then I was already virtual for some of my work. So we went fully virtual. And then it got me the chance to, start my journey on the psychedelics and start, going through that healing part of me. And one thing I want to say to the vets that are out there, that's another thing that I say, is that you were told that you can no longer serve your country in uniform, but you were never told that you can no longer serve your country. So get out there and go into the communities and start doing the work that needs to be done. And listen, you're so needed out there. As we can see where things are going, they need veterans who've done things, that to organize some stuff. Like even when I was at Tony, right, you go into your groups and you got to figure out problems, or you got to do these things, or walk on fire or whatever. And into those groups, believe it or not, people would turn over to me at a time where I was broken and said, Bruno, like somehow they thought, I had my leadership abilities or whatever, you're going to figure this out. And then I was like, okay, let's figure it out. Right. And then it started organizing people, because most people in the civilian world are, led, somebody's telling them to do something, just like we think in the military, but we sidestep the thing that we have a lot of leadership qualities that we had to learn while we were serving, and how to take care of a situation and do triage and say, you're good at this, but this, and use people for their skills for the accomplishment, the mission success.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I think it's pretty much good for me. Are you happy with everything we discussed? Was there anything else you want to talk about? I think
no, this is like, once again, I'm happy that we did talk about this. I just want to reiterate, about, take like, like I went and did the course for transcendental meditation and other meditation and breathing work and Wim Hof and cold dips and saunas and sweat lodge with the indigenous people, and like go out there and go do something.
Yeah.
Go do something that's going to be good for you. You know, it's like it's that little voice in the back, the one that you're trying to stay quiet, that tells you I got to eat better. I got to get out there and start walking.
Yeah.
Guys, I bought myself a Peloton when we went through the first year. Remember, like my fitness is important to me, but we went through the first year and I was trying to get friends that had gyms to give me a key so that I could get, but then the health, agents would come over and all these things. You got to wear a mask and all this stuff. And I was like, that's just insane. So I actually built myself a studio in my backyard. And then I ordered the Peloton treadmill. And people were saying I was crazy because that thing was like $4,200. We're on that thing every day, every single day. And my podcast is in there. We have my meditation place is in there. All my stuff is like you got to create your space and go out there and do what you need to do. And most of the time I'll be doing a walk run because of my back and everything, right? So I'm not running the 10Ks we used to run with 85 pounds on our back. There's no need for that anymore, right? Yeah. All you got to make sure, I always say this, Norm, I'm sorry if I'm taking long here, but like when everything is hitting the fan right now, right? At the beginning COVID, during COVID, and now with Ukraine and Russia and everything that we know, our eyes are open. We say, oh man, what's going on here? A lot of vets are saying, man, set me back. Actually, there's a bunch of Canadians that went over to Ukraine. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, a bunch of vets that went over there. So I'm like, okay. And most vets that I talk to are saying, oh yeah, man, I'm ready to go. I said, bro, you can't even run from here to the stop. I always show them a picture of Fat Thor in the Avenger. I said, put me in, coach. That's what you look like, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I get what you're saying. Your heart's in the right place, but right now you're going to be more of a, if we have to go through a door, you're going to be a doorstop is what you're going to
Exactly. It's just like when in The Simpsons, or where Homer Simpson got so fat that there's like there's going to be a nuclear explosion, and they drop him into the funnel. Yeah. The funnel there, and he stops it.
Oh man. Anyway, so get out there, go and find out what you need to heal. Nobody's going to come to save you. But there is a lot of us out there, like yourself, Norm, like myself, like the Jodys, like, the Mad Hatters and the Arrowhead Coffees. And like, guys, we're all across Canada, veterans that are doing great things. Not super awesome celebrity things. We're just doing great things in our own community, helping out each other, looking after each other, doing a check-in, doing these things. And then we've tried, right? So ask people, ask the right question, because the quality of your life is directly proportionate to the quality of the questions you ask of yourself and of others. So ask better questions.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I never was a proponent of there's no such thing as stupid questions, because I've heard a lot of stupid questions in my life, but I may have actually asked a couple as well. But the thing is like, when it comes to looking after yourself, what I have found is there is no such thing as a stupid idea. So like years ago, like if you would have told me, yoga and meditation, that I would be doing yoga and meditation in my 50s, I would have said, yeah, bull fucking shit. But that's what I'm doing. I'm doing, stretching and yoga, and it's not, well, it started out as a necessity, because if I don't stretch in the morning, I can't walk through the day. But now it's turned into like it's no longer just like an exercise routine. It's now like, doing the teaching, listen to the teachings of, yoga and spirituality and be nice and all this stuff. So it's very important to remain active, but like you said, like try something. Like I never thought that I was ever going to be into yoga or meditation stuff, but I really feel better by doing it. So that's the thing, is like, and that's what you say, like, again, I was like you as well. Like I was dead set against medicinal marijuana, and then until it was legal, and then once it was legal, then I gave it a try, and I'm like, oh man, it's funny because my youngest daughter has been dabbling in marijuana for a long time. And so I apologized to her. I'm like, Jer, I'm really, really sorry. Like, this is a great invention. Where has this been all my life? Like, why was I?
Well, it
You
was
know what I
stopped
mean?
because they couldn't patent it. That's all it is, right? It's all these plants that are out there. Once
Yeah.
again, it's like magic mushroom, right? Psilocybin.
Yeah.
Listen, there's so much more about than just a spiritual trip on mushrooms.
Mhm.
There's so many medicinal mushrooms that are out there, other plants that do help you. That's what it was all about. That's how people used to heal until 1910,
Mhm.
when they started to do the petro medication. Right now, is there medication out there that helps you, the antibiotics and all these things when you get a parasite and all that? Absolutely there is.
Yeah.
Is there stuff that helps you when you got a broken leg? You got to do the, of course there is. Not everything is evil on both sides of the thing, but yes, it was the same realization as you about medicinal marijuana. I was like, oh my God, like now I take 2 gummies and it covers all the other 12 that I used to take.
Mhm.
Right? So that's ridiculous. The thing about our kids is that I think my son has an idea, but the thing is I kind of had a discussion about him and I said, not until 21. So this is very important because their brain is still forming,
Yeah.
and it will affect if either they do medicinal marijuana or psychedelics or anything. Your brain is still forming until you're 21.
Yeah.
And so I highly recommend people to say, hey, you know what? Like listen, I get it. It's legal. It's like drinking. Right?
Mhm.
Drinking here in Quebec, where I'm from, is 18, and that's only a suggestion.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing is that it's the same thing, and I highly, I am for that. Same thing as the Health Canada now approving the healing with these substance.
Mhm.
I like the fact that Health Canada is on board because they're going to regulate the medicine itself, regulate the dispensation, regulate the whole things. But I also hope that Health Canada and new practitioners will also take into consideration and seek out the advice of people who have been doing this healing for decades and generations.
Yeah.
Because the shamans out there and the medicine people and all these things know what they're doing. They've been
Yeah.
working with these plants forever, and it's a tradition, right? It's knowledge. So it's very fascinating to be on there. I'm doing a certification on the science of psychedelics, and it's fantastic, right? It's a lot to learn.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great. So yeah, I guess the main takeaways is like, seek the help, do the help, get the work, do the work. And like I said, the resources are out there. You're a fantastic resource to, for anybody that wants to tap into you. I know you're a very, very busy guy, and I appreciate your, carving out the time for today. And what I'll do, Bruno, if you don't mind, is I'll put afterwards when I do the editing, I'll put your email
Website
and
and all that
website
stuff.
and email
Yeah.
and stuff on there, and then people can reach out to you, and of course always reach out to myself at the alecmcnormanshow.ca, and yeah, it's going to be great. So thank you very much for your time, Bruno. That was great. And I'm just going to say goodbye, and then I'll turn off the recording here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. So